Alright guys, it's time for part 2 of this 3-part video series where we're in the master bathroom and we're doing some modifications to the lights in here. In the first part, we changed 2 of these switches from regular switches over to dimmer switches. Those are working great, but we mainly did that because we have new lights coming in that are capable of dimming. So today, we're going to do a light conversion. We're going to convert this recessed light up here. It's a little hard to see, but we're going to convert that to a standard chandelier type fixture or a pendant light type fixture. I'll show you the light that we're going to replace it with, but first we have to get that fixture converted over. So let's get started. Alright, as always, whenever you're working with electricity, you want to make sure the power's off. So we've shut the power off here to the master bathroom. We're going to be converting this recessed light using this. This is called a Westinghouse recessed light converter. And supposedly, this kit will actually convert a recessed light into a normal light fixture. So we're going to see how that works now. First I'm going to unbox this and we'll see what's included in the kit. I've never done this before, so this is going to be a learning experience for all of us. Okay, let's take a look at what comes in this kit. Open it up. And we'll see what we got here. We have some instructions. Probably glance at those to see how this works. Okay, so it looks like we've got an adjustable bracket here, and it's got multiple ground wires coming out of it, and yeah, we'll see how that works. And then we have here, it looks like a part that goes into the light bulb fixture, but it also has the 2 power wires coming off of it. So how I think this is going to work is this bracket is going to bridge the gap of the recessed light, and this part here is actually what you will mount the new fixture to, or the new fixture mounting plate to. And then this will just screw into where the old light bulb went, which will give you the 2 wires you need to wire up the new fixture. It looks like they give you all the screws needed in order to mount this conversion bracket. But the first thing that we're going to have to do is we're going to have to take out the recessed light itself. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, let's pull that light down. So the cover to the recessed light just pulls straight down. You don't have to unscrew it or anything. And then we unscrew the bulb. After that, we have to unhook the part up here. Now these just has 2 metal pieces that squeeze together. Alright, if you take a look here, these are the metal springs. You just squeeze them together and the whole plate comes off. Now what we're left with is a hole up in the ceiling over there. But in that hole is a housing, a lighting housing. And that's where this comes in. We have to extend this bracket to cover the hole in that housing. Alright, so it looks like the first part is actually putting this where the old light bulb went, so we have our wires coming out. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, now it's time to size the bracket. Alright, so it looks like to size the bracket, all we actually have to do is pull it, and it will extend to the width of the hole that's in the ceiling. But we are also going to have to move this part where the new lighting bracket will mount, we have to move it to the center. So to do that, we're just going to loosen these two screws right here. Okay, now we should be able to slide this towards the center. Just like that. Once it's in the center, we can tighten up all three screws, and then we can check the size of the bracket. Okay, let's check the size of the bracket and make sure it fits in the hole. Yeah. Okay, for the next part, we're going to have to get the screws that came with the conversion bracket, and they look like this. Now, if you look at the ends of these screws, they actually come to a very, very sharp point. That's because these screws were actually designed to drill into the side of the recessed lighting housing that's in the ceiling. So for this, you're going to need an impact driver. You can do this by hand, but it's going to be really hard. It's best just to use an impact driver for this. This is an impact driver, and I'm just going to put my bit here. This is the bit I'm using. This is a DeWalt 1/4 inch, and it'll just go over the top of the bolt just like that. Okay, let me explain to you what I'm going to do. So this actually hangs inside of the recessed light, and then these bolts are going to get drilled right here into the side, and that's what's going to hold this part inside of the recessed light to make sure it can hold the new fixture. In order to get enough space to fit my impact driver in here, I'm going to have to loosen the bolt in the center here and rotate this part of the bracket. So we'll do that right now. So I'll just loosen this. Actually, not that bolt, my mistake. We actually have to take out these two, or loosen them significantly, so we can spin the middle bracket. There we go. Actually, it works if we just remove one. And see how I was able to spin that out of the way? Now I should be able to get to these two holes when the bracket's up there for mounting. Okay, I realize the angle isn't the best for you guys to see what's going on, but I'm going to move the camera up there and show you guys what I did. Okay, so all I did was I mounted the screw. Let me make sure it can focus. There we go. I mounted the bolt here directly into the side of the recessed light on that side, and did the same thing on this side. Now this little metal piece went in between the ceiling and the drywall, and that's okay because all of this hole is going to be covered by the new light fixture anyway, so it won't be visible. This is really sturdy. I can pretty much hang off of this. So it's really strong, and I know it won't have a problem holding the new light. Now all I have to do is straighten out this bracket, put the screw in, and make sure this is in the middle. And then we can start mounting the new light. Now just in case your new light that you're putting in doesn't have a big enough base to cover up the entire recessed light hole, this kit came with this plate, which is white, but I'm sure it's paintable if you wanted it to be a different color. And basically you can put this plate on, and this will cover up the rest of the hole, so you have a much smaller hole for a regular pendant light. I don't think we're going to need this because I'll show you the light that we're going to put in instead, and it has a pretty big base. Okay, this is the light that we're going to be putting in. Let's open it up. Take it out. Oh, it comes with a remote control. That's nice. Very cool. I didn't know that, but it's got its own remote. It's really neat. Okay. Let's see. We got some mounting hardware. And this is the bracket that's going to attach to the conversion bracket that we already put on the ceiling, as well as some screws. This is extra crystals. I'm going to pull out the light itself. Okay, this is the light itself. It's like a crystal type chandelier, but as you can see, the base is really big, so it should cover that entire hole without a problem. This light wasn't that expensive. I believe it was about $75 on Amazon. I'll see if I can put a link to it in the description if you guys like this. It's got like a mirror finish plus some crystals. And this is actually a crystal that hangs from the center. I'll open this up. Yeah, this is a crystal that hangs from the center. Okay, so the first step, oh, and if you can see in here, there's this box. This box is so it can communicate with the remote that it came with. So let's take a look at the remote real quick. It looks like we've got some RGB functions on here, some modes, some different lighting modes. I wasn't aware that this light was capable of RGB, but that'll be neat to play with once we have it installed and turned on. Oh, looks like they also, excuse me, they also included remote batteries, which is really nice. Okay, first step is unpacking this mounting bracket. And let's get clear about how this is going to go. I think it's relatively simple. We're going to mount this bracket to the top, and then it's going to sit in here, and the light will mount to it just like that. So the first part again is going to be putting this up on the ceiling. What wires have we got here? We've got a yellow and green ground wire. It looks like it's labeled with the ground symbol. Let's zoom in so you guys can see that. That symbol means ground. And then we've got our standard white and black wires, and they are labeled N for neutral, L for live. So that's really nice. This is actually very intuitive. A lot of light fixtures aren't like that. we've got our screws that it came with. It's got some really tiny wire nuts that it came with, but I think that'll be okay. Alright, so first part is mounting this bracket up on the ceiling. And we're going to line that up and see how it goes. So basically what we're going to have to do is we're going to line up the screw holes inside of the circular part of this bracket with the screw holes that are already up there on that center bracket. And that should hold this in place. We're going to pull the wires coming out of the ceiling through the center of this bracket, and then we'll just try to line up the holes. Once we have them lined up, we can go ahead and add one of the screws. Okay, we have that bracket up there. Now there are screw holes here where the edges of this bracket can be mounted directly to the ceiling, and I actually think we should do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen these screws in a little bit so I can rotate this out of the way, and then we'll drill some pilot holes. And we'll fasten this bracket also directly to the ceiling just for added support. So the reason I'm drilling pilot holes is because I want some added support for the bracket on the ceiling. And the light came with these. At this point I'm sure you're familiar with these. These go into drywall or into ceilings when you're not drilling into a stud. And these are just going to add support for the fixture up there. So we'll drill some pilot holes for these, and then we'll put them in place. Okay, now that we have that bracket mounted up there, we can start mounting the light fixture itself. So although this is a really nice light fixture, there are a couple things that I'm not happy about as far as the install goes. The first thing is that there is no mounting hook. So what that means is I'm going to have to hold this light up with one hand while I do the wiring with the other hand. And sometimes this can be a two-person job. Luckily this light isn't very big, so I can probably just do it by myself. The other thing is that it came with only 2 wire nuts. Luckily I have an extra wire nut, so I'll use that to attach the ground. You don't have to use a wire nut to attach the ground. You don't have to use a wire nut to attach any wires, but it's just safer and easier. Especially if you're going to have to do it one-handed. Okay. I'm going to hold the light up there and we're going to get to matching up the wires and putting the wire nuts on. Alright, we were able to screw that last crystal in. Now all that's left is to turn the power on, test out the remote, and see if it works. Alright, so the light works, as you can see. A couple things to note for this installation. The remote itself has an RGB button, but it doesn't look like this light is capable of RGB, which is fine because I didn't think it had RGB to begin with. That being said, it has a couple different lighting modes. You can adjust the brightness with the remote. Also, you can change it between daylight and bright white. So daylight is kind of like a yellowish tone, which isn't as harsh on the eyes. But you can also brighten it up to bright white, and it can provide you a good amount of light here in the master bathroom. All in all, I'm pretty happy with the light fixture. I like how it looks up there, and it wasn't that hard to install, even converting the recessed light to a new pendant light or chandelier. Once again, I want to thank you guys for joining me for another episode of Problem Solved. Join me again next week for part 3 of this video, where we're going to be changing the vanity lights as well as the light that's in the ceiling in the water closet. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful as well. Thank you guys for watching and joining me for another Problem Solved.